This is CBC Here and Now.
It's 10,500 people who are taken off the Indian registry, done nothing wrong.
We got no support from our brothers and sisters.
A protest in Corner Brook by some founding Halibu members.
Over stalled talks about admitting new members.
A little bit of everything today as far as weather goes across the province. Conditions will improve though as we head through the weekend.
So this measures the sea ice thickness in real time.
Combining traditional knowledge with new technology.
We take a closer look at smart ice and how it works.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Anthony Germain.
And I'm Carolyn Stokes. We begin tonight in Flat Rock.
Police have suspended the search for a missing MUN student who fell into the water Wednesday evening. The search was called down at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Police say sea conditions deteriorated throughout the day, making it unsafe to search the area by boat. They're searching for 21-year-old Supal Jayasingh. He stumbled into the ocean while walking with his parents and their dog. His father says the current pulled the young man farther and farther from shore until he disappeared from view. An S-92 helicopter carried out a search of the area this afternoon without success. It too suspended the search. The RNC is asking hikers and boaters to keep an eye out and to immediately contact police if they see anything suspicious. Supal Jayasingh's parents released a statement this evening thanking everyone who has helped in the search, as well as to those who have offered support and messages of condolence. The mother and father say, "We are extremely grateful for the community coming together in support of our son."
Well, temperatures today across the province vary quite a bit depending on where you are. A little cooler towards the west coast. Saw dusting of snow for parts of the west coast this afternoon, and then up across Labrador as well. Same thing. 2 degrees in Lab City. We saw some snow there. Happy Valley Goose Bay reached a high near 7, and then the warmest was in the east. St. John's reached a high near 10 degrees today. So we do have that area of low pressure in place, and it is bringing, like I said, some flurries and showers to the island, and then some snow up across Labrador. That's generally going to continue. The winds have been quite breezy as well, not nearly what they were yesterday, but they did pick up for sure in eastern areas of the island as well as the west. Stephenville saw gusts near 70 kilometers per hour today. We are going to see those winds stay quite strong as we head through the overnight tonight. Same thing as we head through the day tomorrow, but by the time we get to Sunday, the winds will die right down, and it looks like a pretty beautiful day, but I'll get into those details coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, the federal government pledged to drive down the cost of childcare in Canada to $10 a day over the next 5 years could lead to a bigger demand for spaces. But will daycares have enough staff to handle the surge? A St. John's daycare says when those fees drop, staff will need wage increases to keep them in the job.
Parents pay $25 a day, and then the provincial government will kick in the rest of the fees for the previous rate so that our childcare center can still operate. So now with the daily rate being lower at $10 a day, they'll have to kick in even more just so that we can operate the childcare centers. That doesn't give a whole lot of optimism that there's going to be even more funding so that we can properly compensate staff. But I think that that is something that seriously needs to be considered, and it needs to be looked at. And we need more staff, and we need to be able to keep the good staff that we do have.
But a teacher of early childhood educators on the West Coast says her class sizes are small. Not many people are going into the field. You'll hear more from her and Stacey House. The childcare conversation continues. That's ahead in about 25 minutes on Here and Now.
Well, a small but frustrated group of the founding members of the Halibu First Nation marched down a busy street in Corner Brook today to protest the federal government's decisions to halt talks to potentially include more people in that group. The discussions stopped at the end of March, and many who were rejected during the new application process in 2018 are upset with the federal government and the Halibu Chief and Council. Here Now's Colleen Connors has more from Corner Brook.
Greg Janes led 14 people down Park Street at lunch hour, holding signs that read, "Removed why?" and "Thrown out." They marched to federal MP Goody Hutchings' office, looking for answers as to why Indigenous Services Canada decided to halt 27 months of talks about reconsidering status for founding members. Janes was a founding member but left Canada to serve overseas, and he says that's why he lost his status. Part of the application process to become a Halibu First Nation member included showing your connection to community.
Those 10,500 people who are taken off the Indian registry done nothing wrong. They have a secure certificate of Indian status. They followed the letter off the land on that day. It's because the supplemental agreement was cooked up and not ratified by its members of Halibu First Nation that it took those members out unfairly and unjustly.
Among the crowd were others with similar stories. Joseph Grant was a member of the Indian Head Band in Stephenville most of his life. He retired to the Codroy Valley and lost his status. His brother and wife did too.
I was there until August the 31st, 2018, when I was removed. And I've been fighting ever since, but I'm not getting nowhere.
Grant says his frustrations go beyond the halted talks with the federal government, who cited ongoing litigation as the reasons why talks stopped. He believes Chief Brendan Mitchell is not doing enough for the founding members who didn't get in.
And I've been talking to the chief, and I've been getting false promises from him, and doing whatever I can, but you can't do much on your own. We got no support. We got no support from our brothers and sisters that are in the band.
Jane says he invited Chief Mitchell and all the Halibu councillors, but they weren't there. This group will continue to rally to push government to reconsider their status applications and allow them access to Halibu First Nation and all the benefits that come with it.
And that's all we want, is to be treated fairly in that same group.
Colleen Connors, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Nunavut MP Mumila Kakak is not apologizing for questioning the ancestry of Labrador MP Yvonne Jones, but she is saying she's sorry for how she has handled the situation.
You have no space to say you're Inuk. Stop saying you're Inuk.
In a video on Twitter yesterday, the NDP MP asked Jones to prove she was Inuk by naming the Inuit members of her family tree. In a statement to CBC late yesterday, Kakak apologized for commenting in a way that she called aggressive and disrespectful. But she maintains her views on the history of Nunatuavut, the non-status group that Jones belongs to. Kakak said the Innu Nation and Nunatsiavut, the recognized Inuit region in northern Labrador, have long contested the claims that there is a southern Inuit region in Labrador, and that none of the Inuit regions or official organizations representing Inuit in Canada recognize Nunatuavut Community Council as part of Inuit Nunanget, the land, sea, and ice that makes up the Inuit homeland in Canada. Now, according to its website, Nunatuavut represents about 6,000 Inuit from South and Central Labrador. It was formed as a society in the 1980s and referred to as the Labrador Métis Nation until 2010. Yvonne Jones has defended her Inuk identity, saying that she knows who she is as well as who her ancestors were.
Well, some people are speaking out against the renaming of a lake in central Newfoundland, saying there was no consultation with locals. They also point out that the province is giving Red Indian Lake a Mi'kmaq name and not a Beothuk one. The Minister for Indigenous Affairs stands by the decision, saying it's a done deal. Lisa Dempster says it's not up to non-Indigenous people to decide on a name change, and that government consulted with the province's 5 Indigenous groups. Miaupukek First Nation Chief Mizel Joe says the name Red Indian Lake is derogatory. The new name, Wantahodi Hespim, means peaceful lake. Joe hopes Mount Peyton, which was named after the man who kidnapped Damasduit and killed her husband, will be renamed after the Beothuk woman.
Well, for the Inuit of Labrador, climate change is having a very real impact on daily life. Getting around and even getting food can be dangerous. It's a serious topic that we've been exploring in our series, Thin Ice. Well, last week, Meg Roberts told you about a project called Smart Ice that combines traditional knowledge with high-tech tracking. Now, before the pandemic, Here Now's Chris O'Neill Yates traveled to Nain to see that technology in action.
Normally, the ice would be thick end of December.
The disappearance of sea ice is a growing problem in Canada's north. For people who rely on it for food and transport, it can be a matter of life and death.
People were falling through the ice and they were unsure of their traditional routes to go hunting and fishing.
Rex Hallwell and a group of young Inuit built this electronic device, a smart boy, to measure the ice so people will know if it's safe to travel on. It'll monitor the sea ice on this route until it melts in the spring. It's minus 45 degrees Celsius as we head out about an hour by snowmobile to where Hallwell will set up the Smart Boy, along a route where people hunt seals, fish Arctic char, and transport wood to heat their homes. Holes are drilled to slip it into the frigid waters below, where it will freeze into the ice. Once or twice a day, the information is transmitted to a satellite and available on the internet.
We can interpret the data, and then that's when we can just decide, or we can figure out how thick the ice is, how thick how deep the snow is, and the air temperature.
Today, the team is also taking what's known as a smart comatic. It's equipped with sensors and towed behind a snowmobile.
So this measures the sea ice thickness in real time. So that's the sensor back there. And here we have the tough pad where the operator can see in real time how thick the ice is.
So the color-coded track that you see on the map here, it shows you where you traveled on February 20th when you went out with Rex.
Anyone can access this network by setting up an account, and the information will be archived for several years. Trevor Bell developed the Smart Ice program with the Inuit, along with federal and Nunatsiavut government funding.
So this is really a good adaptation tool to climate change, because as the ice gets thinner, they can select which routes are more reliable and which ones to travel on.
Smart Ice technology won't solve the problems of climate change, but it does offer 21st century technology to try to protect the traditional Inuit way of life. Chris O'Neill Yates, CBC News, Nain, Labrador.
Well, there is another new case of COVID-19 in the province today. It's in the Western Health region, a man in his 40s. The source of the infection is under investigation. Contact tracing is also underway. There have been 4 recoveries since yesterday. The number of active cases is 23.
Now, we're also keeping an eye on the COVID-19 outbreak in Nova Scotia. 44 new cases have been reported there today, bringing that province's total to 150. Health officials confirm there is community spread. About half of the cases are caused by variants of concern. A 4-week circuit breaker has been introduced for the Halifax area that limits travel in and out of affected areas. Restaurants shift back to takeout only. Barbershops, hair salons, and massage therapy businesses have been closed, and retail stores are capped at 25% capacity. Well, New Brunswick is introducing quarantine hotels for anyone arriving to that province. Starting Saturday at midnight, almost all travelers arriving to New Brunswick must isolate at a hotel for 7 of their first 14 days, and it's going to cost them $200 per day for a total of $1,400. There will be exemptions for truckers, rotational workers, and those who commute through New Brunswick to go elsewhere. New Brunswick announced 16 new cases today for a total of 148.
We've had some cases of that where isolation was supposed to have happened and it did not. Obviously the tremendous high percentage of our cases are travel related. And so to ensure that we do not miss travelers and to ensure that they do isolate as required, we believe this protection is required.
More people can now book vaccinations. All the health authorities are now allowing rotational workers and other people who travel for work, like air crews, to get a shot. So how are we doing with the vaccination rollout? Let's bring in here now is Peter Cowan for the details. So Peter, let's start with the big picture. How many doses have been administered in total?
Well, we've reached a bit of a milestone, Carolyn, and let me actually show you how our numbers are shaping up, because there's been a big ramp up in this last month or so. The latest information from the province shows 150,000 doses have now been administered. This province has done as many vaccinations in the last 3 weeks as the previous 3 months. So in total, almost 140,000 or 141,000 people have received their first dose. That's about 30% of the people 16 and over who are eligible to be vaccinated and for this, who the vaccines have been approved for. So this means there are still 321,352 people who will need to get their shot, which we're told should be possible still before Canada Day. Today, all the health authorities have said rotational workers, flight crews, and truck drivers are now eligible to go online and book their shot. Now, there has been a lot of confusion over the last couple of days about how clinically vulnerable people will be able to register for their shot. At this week's briefing, officials said it wouldn't be a public call out and said doctors or healthcare workers would flag who met the definition, but we actually just got new information. The health authorities just in the last hour have said that anyone who meets the definition of extremely vulnerable, and so those are, for example, people who are going through chemo, have had their spleen removed. There's a big long list on the government website, but they can now book their own appointments. So they can do that online through their local health authority, and it doesn't have to happen through their doctor.
Okay, so we heard from the National Immunization Panel today that they're recommending people as young as 30 be allowed to get the AstraZeneca vaccine. What will that mean for this province?
The short answer, Carolyn, is nothing. I just got a statement from the Department of Health. They said they're not going to change how they use the shots. So for now, they're sticking with the plan, which is that anyone 55 to 64 can go online and book a dose of AstraZeneca. Now, the department didn't expand on why they're not changing, but we do know, unlike other provinces, there hasn't been a problem filling those spots with those 55 to 64-year-olds. So right now, that's who they're sticking with. But we'll find out next week at the briefing if anything changes. Reporting live from the newsroom, I'm Peter Cowan for Here and Now.
Well, a message for anyone getting breast cancer screening. You should make your appointment prior to or 6 weeks after your COVID vaccine. This is because vaccines can cause temporary swelling of the lymph nodes, making it difficult for a radiologist to read your mammogram correctly. Eastern Health says patients may still choose to proceed with their planned appointment. Mammograms will also go ahead if they are deemed urgent.
Well, back to the big land now. By day, Rayanne Brown and her husband run a craft shop in Labrador City, but by night, she writes short stories for her children.
Yeah, she self-published a couple of books, and her latest short story landed her on the long list for a CBC Literary Prize. She says her most cherished critics are her children.
Freelance video producer Daryl Din put together this look at her business as well as at her writing.
So I'm Rayanne.
And I'm Dwayne.
And we're the owners and operators of Inuki Glass Art and Engraving. As long as I can remember, I drew and I wrote and I paint. Yeah, before with the laser engraver, I did glass etching, which is a little bit of a different art form, but similar. But with glass etching, everything is completely 100% done, start to finish by hand. Expansion into laser engraving and being able to do more things, more materials, it was definitely the step in the right direction for us, where we had grown so much in the last few years that it was
time.
Yeah, it was time.
I guess finding out a little bit of my own creativity side, and she's gonna help me with that. And you know, I do a lot of, I'd say 80% of the stuff in the laser now myself.
Submitted a story last year, Bedtime in Nunatsiavut, and I found out that I had actually made the long list on my birthday, so it was exciting. I had to keep that a secret, which was a little bit hard, but there were nearly 3,000 entries, and mine was one of 33, so I was like, wow, I didn't know that. The story came about just by stories I had told my children. I'm from Nunatsiavut, and it was just about a little girl that travels Nunatsiavut every night and turns into a different animal that you would find in Nunatsiavut. It was bedtime in Nunatsiavut. Naya has many questions for her Ananak as soon as the sun goes down. Ananak, why can't I fly? Asked Naya. Ananak pondered for a moment. Well, she began, as she stroked Naya's hair, perhaps you'll become a bird tonight in your dreams. Perhaps, said Naya. Her Ananak pulled her close, touched her nose to Naya's, rubbing gently. A kunik to help you dream, she said. Naya closed her eyes and began to imagine she was a bird as she drifted off to sleep. Suddenly, Naya was surrounded by snow and rushing water. her cozy bed no longer underneath her. As she looked down, she saw that her feet were black. They were webbed and looked like leather. They felt funny on the snow. She stretched out her arms, however, they were no longer arms, but wings of many feathers. As Naya opened her mouth to speak, a honk came out instead. She was a goose. Well, Naya thought happily, I am a goose, and now I can fly. She stretched her large wings and ran alongside the rapids of Postville-Nunatsiavut and took flight. Naya flew and flew up the bay and down the bay and over Post Hill. She flew and flew until she flew right back into her bed. In the morning when she awoke, she was Naya again. Just being Indigenous and being from a little place in Nunatsiavut where most people wouldn't even know, right? It's exciting, and it's nice for people living in remote areas like children and stuff to know that they can do that too. That it's just because you grew up isolated or you're in a remote area doesn't mean that it always has to be, it doesn't have to hold you back forever. So my kids are always my biggest fans. They're always so excited whenever anything like that happens, especially if they hear me on the radio or whatever. Jacqueline always says that my voice sounds weird. Can't disagree, but but yeah, they've been my biggest supporters, and over the years they've kind of gotten used to me being like, look, mommy did this or anything like that, but they're always proud of me, and at the end of the day that's the best feeling, is knowing that I can make them proud.
Pretty nice evening out there right now. Conditions are going to improve through the weekend. Sunday looking like a beautiful day, but I'll get into those details when I come back.
Well, it's Friday. The weekend is here. I'm excited to hear about the weather. You were saying earlier that Sunday is looking great.
It's definitely looking like the best day of the weekend for sure. But leading up to it doesn't look too bad depending on where you are. Let's take a look at the current satellite and radar. That area of low pressure has been sitting with us and affecting us over the last couple of days. And we saw some showers in the east. You can see some clearing breaks right now through eastern areas of the island. And then we've got some flurries on the go for the west coast. Now, if I zoom in a little bit, you can see some clearing. We may see a little bit of clearing in the metro area as we head through towards sunset. But overall, it is looking like the potential for some showers will stick around for the majority of us. So temperatures today, we did see the warmest temperatures in the east, 10 degrees in St. John's. Much cooler as you head towards the west coast. 4 degrees in Corner Brook, Wreck House area seeing a high near 3, 2 in Lab City, and then the hot spot across Labrador was actually in Cartwright and Happy Valley Goose Bay. Your temperatures topped out at 7 degrees this afternoon. Now those temperatures have dropped now down to 4 degrees. We're seeing that drop as well across the island. That will generally continue as we head through the overnight tonight as we see that area of low pressure affecting us through most of the evening, again with that potential for some showers and or flurries on the west coast, more so flurries overnight tonight. And then same thing through central as we get into the early morning hours. You can certainly see that potential for a few flurries. Across Labrador, you're looking at some clearing skies overnight tonight, but not before you see that potential for flurries. And then into the early morning hours, we should actually see some clearing skies again for eastern, particularly the Avalon. Temperatures tonight should be hovering anywhere from 1 to 3 degrees for the island. The winds are going to stay breezy though. Looking at southwesterlies about 50, but gusting upwards of about 70 in some of those exposed areas along the west coast. A little bit lighter winds out of the south, 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. The wind strongest for northern Labrador. Your northeasterlies will be somewhere between 30 and 50. And again, you're looking at that potential for some flurries overnight. Happy Valley Goose Bay going down to -6. Now tomorrow, that area of low pressure is going to stick with us, but we could see and likely will see some breaks in the cloud cover for the Avalon as well as some of eastern Newfoundland. But in the morning, there's still that risk of some flurries through central. That will change over to the risk of showers into the afternoon. We'll see the similar changeover for the west coast. However, it should stay a little bit more cloudy. And then scattered flurries or showers, the story across Labrador, even towards the coast. But as we head into the evening hours, things should start to clear out. And that's because a ridge of high pressure is going to move in and again set the stage for what looks like a beautiful Sunday. Here's your temperatures. Again, should reach the double digits in St. John's, 10 degrees. Southwesterly still going to be breezy though, about 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. A little bit cooler as you head towards Clarenville and Bonavista, reaching that high near 8. Likely going to stay cloudy through most of the day. That's the story through central as well, 6 to 8 degrees across the board. Some sunshine and clearing skies for Harbour Breton. Should see a high near 5 degrees tomorrow. As you head towards the west coast, more cloud cover, but also the potential for flurries, like I said, in the mix. 4 to 5 degrees. Burgeo, you should see some clearing skies into the afternoon. For the northern peninsula, you're looking at a mix of sun and cloud through the day, and again, either some showers or flurries as your temperatures hover around 3 to 5 degrees. Same thing for southeastern Labrador. And then as we head towards Happy Valley Goose Bay as well as Lab City, you're looking at the potential for flurries sticking around. And northern Labrador, 1 degree for Nain with some flurries through the day. So that's a look at tomorrow's forecast. We're going to get back into some nicer weather as we head towards next week as well, but I'll get into those details when I come back.
People who work in childcare and parents who depend on the service have had a few days now to digest the federal government's plan to make it more affordable. We're digging into some of those details tonight. Joining me now is Stacey House, who runs First Light Childcare in St. John's. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start with the federal plan, $30 billion over 5 years. The aim is to drive down childcare costs across Canada to $10 a day. What are your thoughts on that plan?
Well, I'm sure, like many parents, me being a parent myself, is really happy with $10 a day. I think that's great. And as you know, like in this province, we recently transitioned to $25 a day. So that made a huge difference to many working parents to be able to, afford childcare centers. I'm really interested to see the details on the budget and the agreements that each provincial government has with the federal government in relation to the income, because like I represent both as well, because I am a parent myself with 2 children that are enrolled in our childcare center, but I'm also the executive director of First Light, and we operate a childcare center. And I know that it is quite expensive to operate a childcare center. We're thankful for the operational grant program, although, it's not sufficient, and the early childhood educators don't get paid what they deserve to get paid.
Yeah, we do hear a lot of talk about wages and also finding qualified staff to work at daycares. How do those two things affect your center?
Yeah, I mean, you hear it all the time. You see it in social media, on the news, the early childhood educator Facebook group. Early childhood educators are just not paid what they deserve. And I mean, I know that the job is extremely hard and they do a lot, and they should get paid more. And so because the wages are low, and like I think right now in the OGP agreement it says that the wages start at $14 an hour, and like that's not a living wage, as you know. And for the work that they do, there's a lot of burnout in this field, and it's challenging to work with small children. And I'm sure if you're a parent, like you know yourself with your own children, it's hard work. It's not easy. So you can imagine being in a room with 15 toddlers or infants or school-age children, how difficult and challenging that can be. And so there's a lot of staff turnover in the early childhood education world, and we've struggled with it. We found that out ourselves, getting good qualified staff in, because they need to be registered, they need to have the education, but then we also want to be able to pay them enough that they can continue working in that field, because if not, then they're going to look for other opportunities, right? And I know that there have been a lot of ECEs that have transitioned into the school system because the pay is much better.
So what is the solution here when it comes to staff and paying them enough in order to keep them in the job? Because we know that with this plan to lower the cost of childcare, there's probably going to be an influx of people wanting to avail of the service, which means there could be a shortage of spaces and a greater need for more employees. So what do you think the solution could be?
100%. I mean, you can't have one without the other. Like you can't have low childcare rates, which, like you said, is going to increase the need and the want. Is great for the economy, for more people to go to work and have affordable childcare, but also, like for our childcare center, we already have a wait list. So we know that wait list is going to grow. And so, if expanding childcare centers or locations is something to consider, you need to look at being able to keep staff. And in order to keep staff, you need to pay them fair wages. And so I think that, the province especially needs to look at the agreements that they have with regulated childcare centers and ensure that there is enough support, financial support, so that we can properly compensate the early childhood educators. I'm really excited for the future, and I really hope that, this is a good thing. And obviously it's a good thing for parents, and I'm really happy that more parents can go to work and have affordable childcare. But I also let's not forget the educators. Let's not forget that we need the ECE workers in order to operate our childcare centers, in order to care for your children. So, the government needs to look at the wages of these positions as well.
Well, some challenging issues there for sure. Stacey House, thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you for having me.
Now, my next guest knows a lot about the challenges of growing the workforce for daycare centers. Meredith Loveys teaches early childhood education at the College of the North Atlantic in Corner Brook. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, what kind of a demand is there for people wanting to train as early childhood educators right now?
There's not a great demand. It's not a very well recognized profession yet. It's changing and evolving, but right now a lot of people don't see it as a viable career. So a lot of people who are interested in working with children choose to work in the school system and pursue Bachelor of Education.
What's your class size like?
It's quite small. The second year class that will be graduating from the Corner Brook campus will only have 8 students. So that's incredibly small. And there's only 2 campuses in the province, Corner Brook and St. John's.
And we just heard a daycare operator talk about the challenges of keeping staff. She told us that low wages often lead to a high turnover of staff. Do you think this government investment to lower childcare costs will do anything to change the staffing problems?
Absolutely. They haven't said directly that it's going to support ECEs, but that is kind of what they implied. So the hope is that they'll support them, they'll work on recruitment and retention. And a lot of the issues with there being so few ECEs in the sector is that there's not enough benefits, there's not enough wages, and there's just not enough to keep them there and to compel them to continue with the career.
Do you have any concerns about accessibility of spaces, that sort of thing, when the cost of childcare is reduced?
Absolutely. So right now in Newfoundland, the majority of regulated childcare is centered in St. John's. In rural places around the province and even around the country, there's very limited childcare options, especially the regulated type of childcare. So I think the thing that needs to be addressed first and foremost is ensuring that there's more ECEs in the sector, there's more training happening, and we're addressing the need for ECEs to come and help create more quality childcare.
Well, it seems like there are still details on this to be hashed out, but it sounds like you're kind of optimistic about what this plan could entail.
Yes, it's really exciting, and we've been hoping for a long time that the federal government will make this kind of move and really join everyone together to support and carry forward what's in the best interest of children and families.
All right, Meredith Loveys, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, new data shows strong public health measures in some provinces have helped slow the spread of COVID-19.
For the first time in many weeks, the epidemic has dropped out of a growth pattern. We have reassurance that strengthened measures can slow growth where more contagious variants are circulating. But sustained measures and individual practices is the key to driving and keeping growth down.
Dr. Tam is urging regions to keep those measures in place until summer to keep the pandemic at a manageable level. But she says some of the most restrictive measures could be eased after 75% of Canadians have had at least one dose.
Well, the Prime Minister and his wife, Sophie Gregoire Trudeau, received their first dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine today. Yay! The couple was vaccinated at a pharmacy in Ottawa, and they became eligible to get the AstraZeneca shot after some provinces, including Ontario, lowered that age to 40. Well, the push to get people vaccinated has led to some cross-border cooperation. Long-haul truckers from Manitoba can now roll up their sleeves for a shot in North Dakota. Riley Lachuk has the story.
Inside this trailer off of I-29 in North Dakota, shots of happiness and a COVID-19 vaccine.
Happy. That's basically the one word for it, is everybody is happy and relieved.
John Harrower received his first dose of the Moderna vaccine today. The Brandon-based driver was in Saskatchewan when he heard about the partnership between the province of Manitoba and state of North Dakota. He immediately booked a trip south of the border.
Trying to schedule an appointment to get the vaccine at home is difficult when you're never home.
62 truckers were vaccinated at this site on its first day of operations on Wednesday. The state has the capacity to vaccinate up to 200 per day.
That is a pretty good number for us. We're pretty excited about that result, and we had a lot of new interest generated just because it was the first day. So we're anticipating interest and attendance to increase.
Rachel Stinson is the deputy commander for North Dakota Health Operations. She says all of the Canadian truckers so far have been appreciative of the staff and clinic. North Dakota is looking to set up more vaccination clinics and possibly expanding eligibility to Saskatchewan truck drivers in the near future. The state expects to vaccinate between 2,000 and 4,000 Canadian truckers in the next 6 weeks. The cost of the vaccine itself is being covered by the U.S. government. Harrower says he's relieved he now has his first shot and hopes it encourages others to get theirs as well.
Everyone is in a ridiculously good mood and very happy and jovial about what's going on.
He plans to return in about a month's time for his second dose. Riley Lachuk, CBC News, Brandon.
A good story. Well, Carolyn, you said you were hoping to get out in the garden this weekend?
Oh, yes. Nice weather coming on Sunday. Do some cleaning, move some things around. It's going to be fun.
Very keen. So for those of us and those of us who aren't, here's some tips now as you get ready to look at your garden. Maybe something to get things started.
Today we're talking about getting your garden ready for spring. If you're like me, you've been pacing back and forth in the yard. We call this fool's spring because it looks like spring, but if you put plants out now, they die a horrible freezing death. So what you can do to get your garden ready, check your soil. Squeeze it in your hand. You want it to maintain a bit of a round shape. You don't want to go flat. If it's too sandy, so if it just falls flat in your hand, you got to add compost, manure, and blend it into about the first 5 centimeters of soil. Just get a fork, turn it over. I don't like rototilling a lot because it kills all the kind of microflora and beneficial insects. And if it's too heavy, if it makes that golf ball, then you're not going to get enough drainage. In all plants, the roots need room to spread. They need those air pockets to spread into. So you can blend in some peat moss, some sand to really kind of spread it out. Now, in regards to what you plant in the ground and what you plant in containers, even when it's warm out, it's early May, really only your top few inches of soil are thaw. Heat-loving plants like tomatoes, your peppers, those plants need to go in containers. The radiant heat hits the side of the roots. And then the ones in the ground, as soon as you can work the soil, you can plant your peas, you can plant your lettuce and salad greens, and then after May long weekend, you can do your beans, direct sow. That's what you can do now. It's not the sexy stuff, but it is the most important.
it's time for birthdays and anniversaries. Happy 51st anniversary to Patsy and Glenn Caines in Pasadena. Happy 50th anniversary to Eli and Grace Brushett in Long Cove. Bob and Dorothy Yetman in Clarenville are celebrating their 60th wedding anniversary. And a happy 59th to Harvey and Audrey Reed in Bain Harbor. Happy 50th anniversary to Melvin and Maxine Hancock from Fredericton.
Happy 53rd anniversary today to Veronica and Ignatius Walsh in Wabush. Happy 50th anniversary to Fonz and Jean Cooper in St. Lawrence. 60th anniversary greetings going out to Gerald and Ruby George. Wavell and Mary Moulton in Lewins Cove are celebrating their 61st wedding anniversary. Happy 53rd anniversary to Edward and Eileen Raymond.
Happy 51st anniversary to Mike and Marion Seward in Sunnyside. In Mary's Harbor, Labrador, Paul and Ivy Rumbold celebrated their 57th anniversary. And a happy 50th anniversary to Roland and Beatrice Menchington, originally from Newfoundland, now living in St. Albert, Alberta. Happy 61st anniversary to Jack and Lottie Nee from Gander. Happy 56th wedding anniversary to Lloyd and Effie Wareham in Arnold's Cove.
Philip and Eliza Bishop of Cupids are celebrating their 59th anniversary. Congratulations. Peter and Elfrida Hennebury of Lord's Cove are celebrating their 52nd wedding anniversary. Happy 51st anniversary to Mike and Norma Murray in Marystown. Happy 58th wedding anniversary to Churchill and Joyce Morris in Heatherton. 50th wedding anniversary greetings tomorrow to Pete and Peg Higgins from Grand Falls, Windsor.
Happy 50th wedding anniversary greetings to Clayton and Lois Collins in Paradise. Marie and Joe Vaders in Glenwood celebrated their 54th wedding anniversary. And happy 61st wedding anniversary greetings to Dawn and Shirley Benson of Labrador City. Happy 66th wedding anniversary to Freeman and Norma Payne from Cowhead, now living in Deer Lake. Bob and Isabel George of St. John's are celebrating their 61st anniversary.
Happy 58th anniversary to Wally and Audrey Jenkins of Grand Falls, Windsor. Ivan and Katie Greening in Terra Nova are celebrating their 56th wedding anniversary. Best wishes to Ethel and Eric Smith of Hodges Cove on their 64th anniversary. Happy 61st anniversary to Daisy and Roll Park in Cox's Cove. Happy 50th wedding anniversary to Marie and Frank Sullivan of Calvert.
Happy 56th anniversary to Cliff and Jackie Bugden of Stephenville. And congratulations to loyal fans Edward and Genevieve Waff. They're celebrating their 55th wedding anniversary today. Big night in Kelligrews. Also today, happy 58th wedding anniversary to Annie and Dennis Flynn in Forto, Labrador.
Now to some birthdays. Happy birthday to May Vincent from Newtown, Bonavista Bay. She's celebrating her 96th birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday to Mary Churchill in St. John's, who's celebrating her 90th birthday. Joseph Masters from Red Harbor celebrated his 98th birthday. Wishing Frank Harvey of Bay Roberts a happy 96th birthday. Irene Crisby in St. John's is celebrating her 96th birthday. Congratulations.
Happy 90th birthday to Bernadine Chafe in Petty Harbor and Annie Georgina Griffin in Corner Brook, who celebrated her 92nd birthday. Happy 92nd birthday as well to George Roberts from Lewisport, and happy 92nd birthday to Catherine Kitty Parrell in Flowers Cove. Happy 93rd birthday to Leona Showak, originally from Happy Valley, now living in CBS.
Happy 91st birthday to Victor Williams from Bay Bulls. Happy 91st birthday also to Jean Butt Party from Perry's Cove, now in St. John's. She's been living in the same house since 1955. Happy 93rd birthday to Mary Beck in Springdale, and happy 101st birthday to Daphne Thurman.
Congratulations to everybody. Well, as we head through the weekend, Sunday certainly looking like the nicest day of the week. Plenty of sunshine through the afternoon and up through Labrador, though we're still looking at the potential for a few flurries through the day, and that will eventually clear out as we head into the evening hours. But you can see not a whole lot happening across the island. However, as we do head into the early morning hours on Monday, we will start to see some cloud cover move in, staying likely sunny in the east, but that cloud cover will move in through the afternoon. And then we're going to see some showers move right along with it as we head into Monday, which will be at some point heavy at times through the day, and then some cooler air across Labrador, meaning we're going to see the potential for some snow in the mix through the afternoon and evening hours into Tuesday as well. Taking a look at the temperatures on Sunday, told you it was going to be nice. 11 to 13 degrees, a little cooler for the southwest as well as the northern peninsula, 8 to 9 degrees as the afternoon highs. 4 to 6 for most of Labrador, and then some sunshine for Nain, but you're still going to be sitting only around 2 degrees as your afternoon high, and then a similar temperature on Tuesday, although like I said, we'll see that potential for flurries move in, but that will be late day. Still sitting around 8 degrees for Happy Valley, Goose Bay into the afternoon on Monday, but that means showers for you, and like I said, showers moving in into the afternoon. However, temperatures are still going to stay pretty nice for most of the island, anywhere from 12 to 14 degrees through central and the west coast, and then a little cooler for the southwest. Port aux Basques should see a high near 6 degrees on Monday. After that, look at these temperatures, 10 to 13 degrees through most of next week. Tuesday does look unsettled with that rain continuing. The rain will move in late day Monday, but will continue through the day on Tuesday and eventually clear through the day on Wednesday. And then for central Labrador, or central Newfoundland rather, you're looking at a similar setup as far as that rain goes on Tuesday, and temperatures between 11 and 14 degrees. So certainly spring-like across the boards into western Newfoundland as well, with that clearing expected on Wednesday evening. And then as far as Labrador goes, for eastern areas anyway, unfortunately gray skies will be the story as we head into midweek, but temperatures will be between 6 and 8 degrees. And then for western Labrador, some flurries after Monday, it looks like. Just a few flurries, and then either flurries or showers, the story for Wednesday. Wanted to share this shot, sunny Waterford River Walk. Thank you to Joyce Miller for sharing that photo with us. If you have any, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Very spring-like looking scene there with the babbling brook, the Waterford River. It's nice.
It's a great shot.
Yes.
So when I see you both on Monday, I expect to see incredible tans.
Oh.
Because you guys are both going to be in the garden.
I wish.
Sunscreen.
I just can't tan. As hard as I try, it's just not going to happen. I just get freckles.
Have a great weekend. We'll count Carolyn's freckles on Monday.
That's right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.